I know as a judge I'm not supposed to show emotion. And in 22 years, I never have. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
In the chilling confines of a courtroom, the atmosphere crackles with an electric intensity as the judge delivers a sentence that will reverberate through the annals of criminal history. What happens when two minds, entwined in a sinister dance of malevolence, confront the reality of a life sentence? On December 19, 2017, agents from the FBI and the Cleveland Police Department located the corpse of Jordan, a little child who had been reported missing earlier in the month. Jordan was 5 years old. As a result of the congenital handicap he was born with, Jordan Rodriguez was unable to talk. In the course of their investigation into his disappearance, the police discovered his dead corpse inside of his own home. About 3 hours had passed by the time the FBI and the medical examiners discovered Jordan's corpse in the backyard after they had been digging there. The weak dead corpse of Jordan showed various symptoms of maltreatment, including fractured ribs, when it was examined by the authorities. After Jordan's mom's boyfriend's brother phoned the police to notify them about Jordan's location, the police decided to take their inquiry to a new level and investigate the residence of the missing youngster in order to find out more about what happened to him. The informant made the call to the police from Pakistan and indicated that his brother Christopher Rodriguez had contacted him from prison and informed him that he and his girlfriend Lissa Rodriguez had buried Jordan's corpse in the backyard of their house.
Or I don't know if you can, basically it's kind of messed up the whole situation, but my brother told me something and I just can't sleep at night as far as, you know, what I don't know. I just kind of feel like I need to say something.
Something for concerning your brother?
Yeah, just what? I know. It sounds crazy, but
no,
what he told me.
Where does he?
He lives off of Detroit.
What is
so I don't know his direct address. Basically, he told me that something happened with one of the kids, and they didn't call the cops. And basically, him and his girlfriend buried the kid in the backyard. Now, mind you, my brother is known to lie a lot, so I kind of like blew it off, and I was like, hey, man, I hope that ain't true.
Christopher Rodriguez was the brother of the informant. Christopher Rodriguez is now doing time for the murder of Jordan. According to Christopher, he and Lissa made the decision to bury Jordan after discovering that he was unresponsive to their questions. Jordan was not seen alive again until the month of September, and the prosecution were under the impression that he had been brutally slain and buried around the 22nd of that month. Christopher Rodriguez was in the process of serving a term of 6 months in the Medina County Jail for failing to pay child support at the time that the inquiry was being conducted. After the horrible facts of Jordan's murder were made public, the authorities decided to place Christopher in a maximum security jail rather than a minimum security one. What led to Lissa Rodriguez's detention by the law enforcement officials? When Lissa Rodriguez disclosed to the authorities that her kid had traveled to Houston, Texas, to see his biological father, the authorities began their investigation of her and began to close in on her. She went on to say that on December 2nd, his aunt had taken him up. However, she did not disclose any specific information about Jordan's claimed aunt or father, including their contact information. She was also unable to provide any information on her son, who had gone missing. Lissa Rodriguez, who was 34 years old at the time of her arrest, was suspected of having killed her son Jordan. Lissa Rodriguez has reportedly been on the radar of the county's Job and Family Services, according to the spokesperson for the county, Madigan. The authorities took possession of 2 of her eldest children some years ago and withdrew them from her care. Lissa Rodriguez had successfully delivered all 9 of her children before she was taken into custody. During the time of her arrest, 4 of her children were living with her, while the other 2 of her children were living with their dads. All of her children were placed into emergency custody. Ana Rodriguez, who is Larissa's sister, admitted that she had seen Jordan being restrained in a corner with a sock shoved into his mouth at some point in the past. She went on to say that a friend of hers had said to her that a few months earlier she had seen Jordan in the closet in a very critical condition. According to Anna, she informed the child welfare professionals in the county about both of the occurrences. She felt an overwhelming sense of loss at learning about Jordan's passing. Irony at its highest point occurred when Larissa Rodriguez gave birth to her 10th child, a baby girl, while she was incarcerated awaiting trial for the death of her son. The authorities made the decision to put the infant girl in a foster family. The decision of Judge Nancy Margaret Russo of the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court to impose a sentence of 28 years in prison on Christopher Rodriguez was affirmed by a panel of 3 judges in the 8th District Court of Appeals. Christopher Rodriguez and Larissa Rodriguez, the boy's mother, entered guilty pleas to charges related to Jordan's murder. The counts included involuntary manslaughter, felony assault, endangering the welfare of a child, and gross abuse of a body. The pair were able to escape a trial for murder, which could have resulted in a sentence of life in prison as a result of the plea agreement that was reached with prosecutors. The couple's attorneys and the prosecutor have come to an agreement on the suggested punishment for both defendants, which is between 20 and 25 years in prison. In a hearing that took place immediately after the sentencing of Larissa Rodriguez, Russo decided not to follow the advice of the prosecutor and instead imposed a sentence of 25 years in prison on Christopher Rodriguez. After prosecutors showed her images of the boy's corpse, Judge Russo said it was the first time in her 22 years on the bench that she had shed tears. Russo broke down in tears. She addressed Christopher Rodriguez with the following words: "I don't know how you live with yourself."
I know as a judge I'm not supposed to show emotion. And in 22 years, I never have. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. And I don't understand, Mr. Rodriguez, why you don't want to cleanse yourself and tell the truth about what happened here. And I hope someday you do. Whatever this child's life was supposed to be, you make sure it didn't happen. You and Larissa. I look at friends and family, people who are desperate to have children and want to have families, and you two have babies with no consideration. You just keep having them, disregarding the value of their life, disregarding their purpose in life, like they're less than an object, no regard. I didn't even hear you say you were sorry. I will not accept the recommendation for Mr. Rodriguez. These crimes are horrific. There's no question in my mind that this child was abused. It's clear that you did everything you could, you and Larissa, to hide evidence to protect yourselves. You had every opportunity at so many points to make a difference, to get help, to stop beating somebody, to call the police, to ask for help, to try to take him to the hospital.
Thank you for joining us on this intense and thought-provoking journey. If you found value in these narratives, consider subscribing for more content that challenges the boundaries of understanding.
My life for Austin. I loved him a lot.
I'm sorry for what happened to your uncle, but he needs your life in prison. Therefore, I am going to find the real probable cause and charge the...
Dylan Shoemaker was playing with Ashley Smith's kids while she was at work at a restaurant. On March 19, 2013, bad news spread quickly through the small town of Springville. Dylan Shoemaker had beaten his girlfriend's 2-year-old son so badly that he could not live. She went back to his boyfriend's house and found that his older son Austin had died. He was caught by cops at home. The terrible way he was killed made his story go public. Everyone in New York was talking about the same story. He had been killed. Dylan Shoemaker from Springville was a normal teen. The news about this event spread very quickly. He became popular very quickly after that horrible event. Dylan was taking care of Ashley Smith's 2 young boys that terrible night while she was at work. It was sad that Austin, the bigger boy who was about 2 years old, died at the end of the night. Ashley, Dylan's girlfriend, went to work happy that night because it was a beautiful evening. She gets home late most of the time. It started out like any other night, but who knows when this night in Springville will stop being great. At that time, most people in town were asleep. Many were at work, and others were spending the night with their families. At Dylan's house were his mother, father, and Ashley's 2 boys, who are very pretty. In the past, Dylan was in charge of watching the kids. At the start of the night, there were no strange things going on. As the night went on, something went wrong. By the time Ashley got back, her kid Austin was no longer responding. He had been beaten badly, and the scars would not heal. Everyone was shocked when they heard the news because they could only think how hard he hit the baby boy.
Never hurt anyone before. He's my baby brother. Like, he can't do this. It's not...
Dylan Shoemaker was arrested quickly and then charged with second-degree murder. Everyone in the country heard his passionate pleas for help.
I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin.
What he did made him very angry, but nothing could stop him from killing someone. A well-known saying goes, "It doesn't help to feel sorry for yourself after birds have eaten the farm." A lot of people paid attention to the hearing. A lot of family members, reporters, and other interesting people crowded into the courtroom. It was used as an excuse that Shoemaker was old and upset. He was upset during the ruling and said he didn't mean to kill Austin. The prosecution said that Shoemaker was cold and well-planned. Their presence showed how badly Austin was hurt. There were calls for more witnesses, including medical workers, who talked about how bad Austin's injuries were.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. You really think I did that?
Dylan cried when the ruling came out. He said he loved Austin and didn't mean to hurt him. He said sorry to his partner and the court while crying tears of shame, but none of the jury believed him.
I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me.
Justice M. William Bowler called Shoemaker a manipulator and deceiver in a very harsh way. He talked about how Shoemaker planned his actions and how he tried to sway the judges by crying. Shoemaker was given a term of 25 years to life in jail for killing Austin in the second degree. When this woman was sentenced in 2017, a video of her crying while her mother wailed went viral. She was back in court trying to get her guilt and term thrown out. Candrea Cook failed. Anthony Candela, her lawyer, asked the judge to deny her move, but the judge said no.
I just want to say that I'm sorry to the people wrong that her son had to get shot because I didn't even know he was going to get shot.
Candela's main point was that her former lawyers had not done enough to help her case. In March 2017, Cook put his face on a Meet Me app page to trick Perry Nida of Palm Coast into going to a meeting where he would be robbed. He brought his friend Emmanuel Manny Purcell from Palm Coast with him to the meeting in South Daytona. Kendrick Bass, Cook's partner and boyfriend at the time, shot and badly hurt Purcell during the attempted carjacking. Police say Cook and Bass worked together to steal another car just 2 days later. At the time, Cook was a student at Mainland High School. She thought she would get probation when she was sentenced in June 2017 because that's what her defense lawyer told her would happen. Circuit Judge Matt Foxman instead gave her 20 years in jail. That's what made the video of Cook and her mom reacting in court go viral. After she was sentenced, Stephen Robinson and Kelvin Daniels, 2 new lawyers, took over her case for free. In August 2017, Cook was able to change her plea because, based on what her lawyer had told her, she thought she would get probation. Robinson and Daniels said in court that they were trying to get the prosecutors to agree to a sentence of 8 to 10 years. As part of her plan to get her term reduced, Cook took part in a controlled call to Bass. But things got more difficult when she called Bass, even though the court had told her she couldn't accept for the managed call.
I think he got good in it, and I think he got potential on Lou's side of that.
As a result of his no contest plea, Cook was found guilty of aggravated abuse with a dangerous weapon, attempted carjacking with a deadly weapon, and carjacking with a deadly weapon. It was decided that she was guilty. She could have spent the rest of her life in jail. After that, she got 11 years in jail, and starting in April 2018, 20 years of probation at the same time. When Cook went on the stand, no one cried. She said no one told her she could go to court instead of going to jail for 11 years. She did say, though, that she agreed to spend 11 years in jail, based on Cook's claim that she wasn't told she could go to trial.
Today was all right. The 30 days is probably the idea before you have it, but your attorneys are going to talk to you about this. Just cooperate with that process because I want to know.
Circuit Judge Karen Foxman agreed with her. Foxman also said that Robinson and Daniels made smart choices based on the evidence against their client, which included the fact that she broke a judge's order. Karen Foxman is married to Matt Foxman and took over his caseload when judges were moved around in 2021. Bass, who is 22 years old, was later given a 20-year sentence. The Department of Corrections says he will be free in December 2037. Cook is supposed to be freed in January 2028.
I need to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
In the dimly lit courtroom, tension hung thick in the air as the judge's gavel echoed, delivering a verdict that would reverberate through the lives of the youngest gang members in the city.
Is not sufficiently substantial to call for leniency, and that a natural life sentence is appropriate.
As the heavy doors clanged shut, a collective gasp escaped from the gallery of onlookers, echoing the disbelief that gripped the room. The accused, whose faces were marked by a mix of defiance and fear, stood frozen in the harsh reality of their fates. We'll start with Brandon Spencer.
I'm not a bad person, but I made mistakes. But I'm not just some gangbanger that she tried to portray me as.
A 21-year-old guy was given a 40-year to life term for shooting and hurting 4 people outside of a USC Halloween party in 2012. After firing shots outside of the Black Student Assembly-sponsored party on October 31, 2012, Brandon Spencer was found guilty of 4 counts of attempted murder. During the trial, the prosecutor said that Spencer shot someone because he was in a fight with a rival gang member and that he was a documented, well-known gang member himself. He begged the judge to be lenient, asking for a second chance at life.
3D, this is to be concurrent with the principal term. Has to count.
He became angry when the judge told him his sentence, according to officials. Early this year, Spencer heard that he had been found guilty. He then threw over a chair and begged the officers to shoot him.
I made mistakes, but I'm not just some gangbanger that she tried to portray me as.
Because none of the 4 people who were shot were USC students, including Spencer, the school now makes all guests register before they can come on campus between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. Next up, we have Dant Wright.
This year was supposed to be a year of celebration, of senior pictures with prom and graduation and parties. Instead, it was a nightmare.
An Ann Arbor man was sentenced for the shooting death of a high school student in Ann Arbor. During the hearing, the judge in Washtenaw County took away his smile. Judge David S. Swartz of Washtenaw County Trial Court.
I'm very tempted to just say, I'm not going to accept this sentence agreement. We'll go to trial, and if you're convicted of felony murder, you'll go to prison for the rest of your life. That means you'll die there.
let prosecutors think again about their plea deal and term of 25 to 52 years in jail after seeing 17-year-old Dant Wright smile.
Sentenced by the parties, but watching you sit there, smile and laugh and shake your head like this was no big deal.
While the mother of murdered Pioneer High School student Jordan Klee cried, Wright seemed to be comforted by a loved one in the courtroom as Klee's grandfather, her crying mother, Karen Klee, and her cousin gave a victim impact statement. Wright smiled and shook his head. They talked about how much the Pioneer High School student loved sports, including the prom and holidays he would have missed. They also talked about how sad they were about his death.
Jordan has no future. Jordan can no longer choose to go to college. Jordan can no longer choose to change.
When Wright got to speak, he told the judge that all he wanted was his plea deal and sentence, and he was going to be home soon. He also said he loved his family and R.I.P. Keon.
Tell y'all, I'll be home soon. R.I.P. Keon, I love my family.
Which seemed to be a reference to the death of Keon Washington in 2014, which was thought to be connected to gangs. Now we will talk about Carpio Brothers.
Gang members were sentenced today for killing a teenager on a high school campus in the Valley.
2 teenage boys were given their sentences for their part in the death of a student by stabbing at Cleveland High School in Reseda in 2013. 2 men, Anthony Carpio and Michael Stephen Carpio, were each given 16 years to live in prison. The 2 Carpios were both in a street gang. Each of them was found guilty of killing Kevin Orellana in the 2nd degree. Orellana was not a part of any gang. A 3rd co-defendant, 21-year-old Michelle Pineda, was given 2 years in county jail after pleading not guilty to 1 criminal count of being an agent after the fact with knowledge of a crime. As Orellana played volleyball at Grover Cleveland High School on April 24, 2013, the brothers came up to him, the prosecutor said. According to the evidence in court, the suspects made a gang dare, which led to a fight. People who were there said that Anthony Carpio stabbed Orellana during the fight. Marcus said that the Carpio brothers then hit a car that Pineda was driving. Randy Page of CBS 2 said that the Carpio brothers were expressionless in the Van Nuys courtroom when Judge Martin Herskovitz gave the sentence.
All he was doing.
Marcus read a victim impact statement that Orellana's family had written before he was sentenced. As parents, we can't wait to dance at their wedding.
As a parent, we plan to dance at their wedding,
celebrate their promotion, and maybe even have grandchildren.
Celebrate a promotion, look forward to possible grandchildren.
As the statement said, the last thing we would ever think about is having to plan their funeral.
The thought we would ever have is that we'll have to plan their funeral.
The boys won't be able to get out of jail until at least 2028. Lastly, we will discuss the case of Martis Fuller.
Only took a few hours for a jury to convict a Kenosha teen of murdering his former girlfriend. Martis Fuller became emotional after the verdict was read this afternoon.
Kaylee Juga was killed in Kenosha County in 2019. Martis Fuller was found guilty and given a life term without the chance of release. Fuller was charged as an adult with criminally causing death, attempting to cause death, and breaking into a house with a gun. He told the police that he was not guilty. In March 2021, a jury said he was guilty.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide.
The government says that Juga's ex-boyfriend, Fuller, broke into her house, shot her, and killed her. She had music on in her bedroom at the time. Stephanie Juga told the judge, "I miss my daughter so much," at her sentencing. "She was always with me, whether we were shopping, going to the gym, going to Starbucks, watching Netflix, listening to music in the car, or just dancing around the kitchen."
We were shopping, going to the gym, going to Starbucks, watching Netflix, jamming in the car to music, or just dancing like crazy in the kitchen. She was always by my side, and she was my biggest cheerleader.
Jenga said, "She was my biggest fan. Now I am lost." Michael Gravely, the DA for Kenosha County, says this is a case of domestic abuse. His attorney read a statement that Martis Fuller wrote in court. He said he was sorry but didn't say why.
Truthfully, I am sorry about the pain you've all suffered through.
He just said he's innocent. The lawyer read out loud for Fuller, "But I have to continue to stand innocent because I am.
But I have to continue to stand innocent because I am."
And I know that I haven't shown much emotion during my time. However, the The real reason is that it's hard to cry when I think about how my mom lost a son, one of her children. Fuller's lawyer asked the court if there was a chance that he could be under more control in 25 to 30 years. The judge agreed with the state and gave Fuller a life term without the chance of release. When Judge Mary K. Wagner spoke, she said that Fuller did not have a damaged childhood or a background of mental illness. Jagwa's mom says she heard her daughter scream from upstairs. In 2019, she talked about how she stood next to Fuller while he pointed a gun at her and told him, "You don't have to do this." His answer was, "Yes, I have to." At the time, they were both 15 years old and top students at Bradford High School. The mother also told the police that Fuller shot her several times when she tried to close the door. After that, she locked herself in the bathroom and called the police. Stephanie, Juga's mother, spoke in court about her daughter. If this video has left you with questions or stirred a desire for action, consider engaging in conversations that go beyond the surface. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to subscribe for more thought-provoking content that delves into the heart of societal issues. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey.